December 7th, Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board meeting. We are going to start actually with the roll call. At this point, we have just hit a quorum. So we're very excited. We have a quorum group with us because everyone who needs ASL interpretation. We do have 2 interpreters that are with us today to view that. Ken, Chad, or Charles, and then you'll be able to follow. All the roll, meeting Andrews. Here. Jamil Bey.
Here.
Tammy Thompson. Karen Garrett. Deb Gross. Mark Masterson. Mark, are you still here?
Yes, I am. Sorry, just couldn't find the unmute button.
No worries, we just didn't want to miss you. Deidre Washington. Marcus Reed. Dr. Paul Spratley.
Here.
Alan Cisco.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Alan. Derek Tillman. I'm Adrienne Wanaha, I'm present. Kelly Ware. Kelly, we saw you. We think you might just be on mute.
No, I don't see it.
So at this time, I will declare we do not have a quorum. Hopefully Kelly will just be rejoining the meeting and some other members will join us. Right, so Kelly has messaged she's hopping back. Let's give Kelly just a minute to get back into the meeting and then we can actually just move. If you do not have public comment that is registered, is you want to just go ahead and move into the overview of the Uptown Flats project? Oh, there's Kelly. Kelly, can you just confirm for us you're here? Can we see her in the booth? Okay. So we'll acknowledge that Kelly is here. She just is having some technical difficulties. So we are actually going to start on the Uptown Flats rental gap application.
Good afternoon, everybody in the room and online. My name is David DiBernardo. I am a lending analyst in the residential lending department of the URA. I am here today seeking authorization for a $1.25 million rental gap program loan for the new construction of a project named Uptown Flats. This loan will be in the form of a 40-year, 0% interest cash flow loan. Uptown Flats is a 34-unit new construction being developed by a partnership between Bethlehem Haven of Pittsburgh and Action Housing Incorporated. Bethlehem Haven of Pittsburgh is a service provider for women at risk of homelessness, and Action Housing is an affordable housing developer that specializes in supportive housing. The name of this partnership is BH Venture One LP. Uptown Flats will be located at 1400 to 1406 Fifth Avenue in the Uptown neighborhood of Pittsburgh. The location is currently made up of four vacant 4-story buildings, which will be demolished and replaced by a single 4-story, 33,500 square foot building that will be exclusively occupied by 34 affordable apartments and some office space for Bethlehem Haven staff on the first floor. This building goes directly up against Bethlehem Haven Women's Shelter, which is owned and currently being renovated by Bethlehem Haven of Pittsburgh. This board actually approved that, some funding for that project, that renovation in February. So this is kind of the second phase. Let me switch it to the next slide. Sorry, thank you. These 34 units will be comprised of 4 units reserved for residents earning at or below 20% of area median income. 14 units will be reserved for residents earning at or below 50% of area median income, and 16 units for residents earning at or below 60% of area median income. 11 of the units will be single occupancy units, 16 will be 1-bedroom units, and 7 will be 2-bedroom units. All of the units will be for individuals meeting the definition of homelessness, with additional set aside for individuals with a disability. This building will include common spaces for residents, including an interior courtyard and a community room. This nearly $20 million project will be financed primarily by a 9% low-income housing tax credit, or LIHTC deal. It also will receive FAIR Awards and Penn Home Awards for PHFA, a community development block grant for coronavirus through HUD, an affordable housing program award from FHLB, and this rental gap program will fill up the existing gap. There will also be a $1.75 million loan from Pittsburgh Mercy, and that is kind of in place of what we hope will be home ARP funding when that becomes available to the project. Because the project is on a timeline due to some of the funding sources, they cannot wait any longer for that funding to become available. So Pittsburgh Mercy was generous enough to lend that money to get this moving. This permanent, affordable, supportive housing will create a vital addition to Bethlehem Haven's existing housing continuum that will allow vulnerable residents to find stability and success in life. By integrating housing with healthcare services and extensive supporting services, this project will create enriched housing that allows residents opportunities for improved lives. With that, I would like to open up the floor to the board members for any questions you might have or any comments. Oh, I'm sorry. What am I doing? Today with me, I have Annette Fetchko, who is the executive director of Bethlehem Haven Women's Shelter and the executive director of BH Venture One LP. I'm so sorry. In our relationships, the whole thing. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. First of all, I want to thank everybody here in person and on the Zoom call. This has been really very much a passion and so integral to the mission of Bethlehem Haven of Pittsburgh. And we could have not done this without the partnership of the URA and the partnership of Action Housing. So we are very grateful for both projects. The 26 women who will occupy the renovated space at 1410 Fifth Avenue. There are 26 women who have various physical and behavioral health disabilities and cannot live independently in the community. It will be a therapeutic, really trauma-informed environment, and so it'll really be wonderful. And then the 1410 Uptown Flats project really helps us really expand our continuum of care from homelessness to transitional housing to permanent supportive housing. And this model is quite innovative in the fact that we have the value of Action Housing and the URA expertise, but then the wraparound supportive services expertise of Bethlehem Haven. So we're hopeful that this is a model that we can then demonstrate proof of concept and can be a model that can be replicated across other projects throughout the city. So thank you again. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
Nice to see people in person.
You, yeah.
So members present and folks online, do we have any questions related to the project? We have a promotion.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that just if I'm doing the math correctly, 19.5 million almost over 34 units, that's 572,000 per unit. Is that what the cost to do affordable is now?
The development cost includes office space for medical. It's sort of integrated with the building, so we're not calling it commercial space, right? The one in Haven is their administrative offices there, so the entire cost of construction is not.
Just
The audio is really breaking up.
Okay.
I really
So,
couldn't-
can you hear me, Mark? This is Annette.
yeah.
So, as Lena was explaining, the project will include administrative office space for the Bethlehem Haven staff that will provide some of the supportive or the care management services. Those costs are not included really in the overall costs of the development of the 34 affordable housing units. So and we're not deeming that space commercial space, and we got that approval through PHFA to do that. So I hope that helps clarify.
So then what do we, I'm just not about this project, just trying to understand what the cost per unit is rising, do we know that in this as to what the cost per affordable unit is on average?
I don't think you can hear me, but the cost per unit in my tech development
Construction
cost is on maybe 20%.
Is there a microphone that you can use? Because it's if you're not, I don't know. Is it just me? I can't hear the
You
actual
can't
words.
hear.
I can hear that you're speaking, but not the words that you're saying.
All right.
Sorry, that you're having to.
No problem. Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Absolutely,
now?
that's
Okay.
perfect. Thank
All
you.
right, great. I'm by the computer. So, yeah, the cost per unit of all LIHTC developments has really gone up a huge amount. I think if we divided any of our recent projects we've approved, like the development cost divided by the number of units, it would probably be around $450,000 to $550,000. And this one, I don't have what component of the 19.5 is the administrative office. I don't have it with me. We could look that up, but I would imagine we're around 450,000 a unit.
So that's what we should be expecting, I guess, is that the cost per unit of affordable housing has risen pretty significantly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I just want to ask quickly, are members online able to hear me?
Yes.
Mark is shaking his head, so I'm gonna take that as a yes. Do we have?
It's not very clear, but we can make it out.
Okay, I will talk louder because I have an outside voice. Are there additional questions related to this particular project that members would like to ask, or is there a motion related to the project? I am hearing none. Now, as the chair, I believe I cannot make a motion to move on the project. And we might need to go back to the last slide so folks can actually see the content of the motion clearly. Alina can also not make a motion related to her involvement in the project. Do we have concerns about the project that we need to discuss that might be delaying people making a motion?
I'll make the motion if everybody's good. Questions wise, I will read it. So hey, this is Alan Cisco. I'm gonna make a motion to authorize the Opportunity Fund and the URA to enter into a rental gap program loan agreement in the amount of up to $1,250,000 with BH Venture One LP or a related entity for the construction of Uptown Flats at 1400 to 1406 Fifth Avenue.
Thank you, Alan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mark. We already know who have the abstaining from this vote. All those in favor of the authorization to enter into the RGP program loan with BH Venture One LP, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any members in opposition of the project? Thank you, so moved and carried.
Did anyone need to abstain from the vote?
We have already done that.
Okay, never mind.
Well, thank you again for this wonderful holiday gift. We're very grateful. And on behalf of everyone we serve, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annette. All right, so I'm going to express my just sadness about this. We have very few members on today. Oh, Swain as a guest will be joining us. We have very few members today. This is a topic that a lot of our membership wanted to talk about. So I feel, I almost feel like, and I'll ask the members that are participating, I feel like maybe we might want to save this topic because there are a lot of very interested members that wanted to dive a little deeper into the small landlord fund. And I feel like very few of them are with us today. We have such a small group. Derek is going to be presenting for us, and we can maybe go through the presentation, but I would hate to finalize decisions with such a small group today. So Derek, what is your thinking?
We actually do have Kyle online from Berkeley, who is
okay.
on staff with us, who are nursing managers, all of our
Okay.
for us. So he's going to walk through the presentation today. So I do think it might be good for him to do that, and then if we want to table discussion for another time.
Hi, this is the interpreter. I'm having a really tough time hearing what's being said.
I'm sorry, Chad. We are not 100% sure why we are having so many issues with microphones today. We are going to do this presentation, but then pull the discussion forward into a future meeting.
So I will turn the presentation over to Kyle, and he can walk through sort of the state of the small lender fund as it exists today, and where we are currently with the program.
Good afternoon, everyone. I do apologize that I'm not there in person. I'm actually attending the Homes Within Reach conference. And my name is Kyle Novak, and I am one of the Housing Opportunity Fund program coordinators. And I work under the residential and consumer lending team, and I manage the homeowners assistance program and the small landlord fund program, which I'm here to talk about today. I'm going to provide you with a brief overview of the small landlord fund program for those who are not familiar with it. The small landlord fund is designed to provide funding to landlords with 10 or fewer units within the city of Pittsburgh limits to make existing affordable rental housing. The borrower must rent the repaired unit to HCV holders or households at 80% AMI or below. There are funding terms which can go from $20,000 per unit all the way up to $100,000 per project. There is a 0% interest rate with the loan, and the loan terms are based on the amount of money being borrowed. Anything under $50,000 is a 10-year loan term. Anything over $50,000 and not exceeding $100,000 is a 15-year loan term. These loan terms are for payment purposes and the length of the time the landlord must rent the units to HCV holders or households at 80% AMI or below. With the current state of the Small Landlord Fund program, I started at the URA a year and a week ago today, and I took over this program. This program was originally launched in early 2021. Since I have started to manage this program, it had 6 completed Small Landlord Fund project closings. Currently, there are 9 completed Small Landlord Fund projects closings. This year alone, I had 15 applications submitted, 16 applications submitted, I apologize. 3 of those 16 I have closed. 1 loan for $19,670.32.
another for $99,600, and the third for $59,918. Three of these projects were rejected. The reason for this was one of the properties was not within the city limits. One of the tenants was related to the landlord, and unfortunately that is a disqualification for the program. And the other, the property was not properly zoned as a single family or multifamily dwelling. However, I'm still in contact with that individual, and they are working on having the property properly rezoned so that I can help her with this program once that has been completed. I am currently working on 9 possible small landlord fund projects currently. I actually just scheduled another closing for next week with a new individual today. And I'm also currently waiting for the individuals to send me all the materials I need to review in order to accept them to this program. Also, I have another project I'm working with the URA and the commercial side that will go along with the small landlord fund, as it is a combined multi-use building. Oops, sorry. So in total, there has been a payout for this year of $75,000, $299.67. Left to be paid out for active small landlord loans is $241,156. Sorry, $241,156.32. So in order to be paid out, and how this works is individuals do not get paid out until the work on their rental units has been completed and an inspection has been passed by one of our URA's quality and control inspectors. As well as there are no monthly payments until there has been a signed invoice and I process payment. For example, if a project closed for $75,000, which included roof replacement and bathroom repairs, the roof work was completed first and passed inspection and was invoiced for $35,000. At 1 month from the payment, the individual's monthly payment will then start, and it is based off of that $35,000 that has been invoiced on. The individual's loan term would be 15 years since it is over $50,000. Their monthly payment at that time would be around $194.44 a month. As they are still working on completing the bathroom repairs, once that is completed and passed inspection, and I receive the invoice for the remaining $40,000, then their monthly payment will increase to around $416.67 a month until that balance of the loan is paid in full. That is how you can see the breakdown for the total money that has been paid out this year on the PowerPoint. Left to be still paid out, there's approximately $61,968 left that were not paid out yet, as individuals are still fixing and repairing their units. And so far, we've made a couple of changes to the small landlord fund. The small landlord fund used to have an interest rate with the loan of 3%. That has since been changed, and we now offer a 0% interest rate. Also, the guidelines have been updated with more details, and they are easily accessible for consumers to access them. They are now posted on our website under the Small Landlord Fund program. As far as my outreach for this program has gone this year, I have been attending community meetings, city events, and tabling events. This has occurred throughout various neighborhoods within the city. And during these events and programs, I explained to residents and any individual about this program and provided them with flyers and information. I have also personally reached out to the City of Pittsburgh's permits, licenses, and inspections, as I know that rental registration has passed within the city. I am hoping to work collaboratively with them to find more applicants whose properties may be in code violations that need repairs to their rental units. As far as feedback so far from this program, I have heard from different landlords. There are issues with trusting the program. Sometimes they feel like this program is too good to be true. They have been hurt by other programs in the past. Some of them have told me that they don't want to follow rules when it comes to dealing with their property. They don't like the guidelines that come along with the small landlord fund program with who they have to rent it to and what information they have to provide to us. They also don't like the loan terms for renting to 80% or below AMI, and they feel that is too long. They are also looking for more grants instead of a loan. Also, this program has helped landlords, and they may not have been able to fix their units for the ones that I have successfully completed this program. A suggested new change is, instead of having the loan that is paid back by landlords, we are proposing a deferred loan for this program. This deferred loan will allow landlords to obtain money to make repairs to their units, and as long as they abide by the loan terms, 10 or 15 years, to rent to HCV or households with 80% or below AMI, the loan will be fully forgiven and no payments required. We believe this will make the program more popular and help those small landlords make the necessary repairs and keep their property safe and healthy for their renters. Our future goals is I would like to see personally this program be utilized more, and I'm hoping to get more applications and completing of successful closings. At this time, I'll open it to any questions. Thank you.
So that was great, Kyle. I think that it really, fleshes out the program a little bit more for all of us. I feel that we have a limited group to make comments at this point. We had discussed potentially developing a working group, Kyle. So we wanted members to be able to hear more about the program, hear some of your suggestions. And we did talk about, a short-term working group where folks could, engage with you, especially around outreach. Is that something that you feel would be valuable? And I see Kelly also has raised her hand.
Yeah, I definitely think that would be valuable. I mean, obviously, the more people that we're reaching out, the more we're spreading the word around.
Kelly, we do see your hand up.
No, thank you. I'm sorry, just making sure I'm off mute. So thank you. First of all, we're excited to see the 0% interest rate. That was, one of the earlier feedback points that we had received. Can you talk a little bit more about the recommended deferred loan terms that you would like to see as part of the program?
Yeah, Kelly. So with this, it would be similar to what we do with like our HAP program. So instead of them having to make monthly payment, say, for example, I close on a small landlord fund for $75,000. Instead of them having to make monthly payments or paying that $75,000 back, as long as they rent to HCV or households with 80% or below AMI for 15 years, that loan will be fully forgiven. Does that answer your question?
I mean, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that. I don't know. I can't also see who's physically in the room. I see mostly table and less people. But is this something that we would need to remand to a working group, or something that we could just go ahead and approve? Because I think that this is the type of enticement that we were discussing or foreseeing being something that we might want to implement as part of the program, versus having to, I don't, if we want to have a working group, I'm not opposed to a working group. I just know historically we've had trouble getting work done and participation at the working groups. I guess just from a process point, is this an item that we could vote on or vote to explore and see if it works with the budget? Or if we have to actually, meet separately to see if we want to move something like this forward.
So there wasn't a motion on the table today to make a change to the program. The intent of today was presentation. Could we make a motion on that today? We absolutely could. But the second piece, Kelly, was that the working group could support the outreach efforts and maybe do some things like focus groups with landlords. The working group was much more about that piece. But yes, the group could put a motion on the table related to the one item that has been brought up as a change to the program, which is deferred loan terms.
Sorry, Jamila, I didn't mean to double tap, and then continue to speak, sorry. But no, I'm just thinking that we do have community outreach and other avenues to perhaps reach out to the small landlords. That could be a working group, could be separate. I'm gonna let Jamil talk now, but I'm just thinking we could, possibly do both, and.
It's okay, I'm talking to you, but also the group. I mean, so what I think the discussion, like I don't want a working group, I'm way too busy for that. But I think there are some of the recommendations and tweaks we probably need to think about individually. What do they look like, and how are we, how long are we committed to, okay, no, that's not working, and able to pull back. So as becomes an iterative process, like what parts of it can we tweak? And I think a discussion group, let me not call it a working group, might help to think through some of that. Because I think, it was the way that Kyle presented it. It was like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. But the recommendations, are they, we don't want to commit to them for an entire year if we see that we're either going too hard or not hard enough with recommendations. So I think a discussion is warranted.
Thank you, Dr. Bay, and multiple members who really wanted to create some working group or discussion group, activities group, are not here today, which makes it a little bit harder to flesh out all of the items that people wanted to discuss. But to your point, it was some of the nuances of the program, plus the outreach, and plus ways to potentially retool the program like a deferred loan term.
Could we perhaps rephrase and have a special meeting to discuss the small landlord fund so that we can give it an hour or two of our time, effort, attention, and tease out some nuance, but not commit to an ongoing working group that tends to only pull a couple of people and tends to be the same people?
I think we could convene in a variety of ways. Our original suggestion for this meeting was to have the presentation and then potentially push this larger conversation to a next meeting. Does that, satisfy everyone that we could have another meeting discussion, and then if additional steps are needed, we would do so after that additional discussion?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I would almost want to know what's going into the meeting before. Like, I think that there's enough. I think people have enough of at least of a direction now that we could start to put together a very, very light agenda. So at least we have a direction. It's not a rehashing of this meeting, but there's a little bit of direction going into that next meeting so that it has some focus. Dr. Bay, it almost sounded like you had a couple of thoughts. Even just right now, you said there's some things we need to discuss. If we had that list going into that meeting of a couple points from you and a couple points from Kelly and a couple points from Adrian, and a couple points from Derek, I think that and others, I think that we might be able to see if there's some overlap and then kind of streamline the conversation a little bit. So that's a question to you, Dr. Bay.
Bro.
It's because the camera so zoomed out.
Right, I can't see what's going on. Yeah, like I said, I don't have any specific points that I can recall from that. I was just, as he was talking, I was thinking, okay, what does that look like to tweak? I can go back and think about this. But that would make the working group easier, the discussion group.
And so, yeah, I mean, I guess when I had thought about what would make this more appealing to folks, all I thought about was outreach. And I'm obviously not the URA staff who spends a lot more time in this. All I thought about was outreach and deferred loans, because we defer loans to the big guys all the time. Why don't we defer loans to the small guys who are giving us who are so often our landlords in our communities. And so to me, that's my only bright idea other than outreach. So I'm ready to go on this. I'm happy to discuss other things. But again, to Dr. Bay's point, I don't have anything else that's coming to mind. But I'd be happy to participate in a special meeting or setting aside a chunk of one of these meetings to hear from folks who do have ideas.
I mean, for example, the comment about the some of the landlords not wanting the restrictions is 80%. Okay, well, what does that look like? How do we think about that? Do we respond or do we toe the line? Like, I think there are ways that we can think about, get some recommendations from Kyle. What is he hearing that might make sense or make it more effective?
I also think, in terms of what we're changing and how we're changing things at the same time, if I'm paying on a loan and you're telling me who I can rent to, that's different, I think, than if I have essentially free money and you're restricting me, right? I think that the conversation might be different, but maybe some focus grouping might help with small landlords. We do have 16 of them, I guess, to choose from, at least.
Well, great conversation. We do want to keep the dialogue going. We will put some structure around that. Fortunately, we have access to Kyle, so we can have some of those conversations with him too, to help to build out that matrix of what are the key points that we want to take a look at in the next conversation. And of course, members, if there are things that you're thinking about now, after the meeting, you can always share those with the URA, with myself, with Dr. Spradley, and we can put those into, our great idea bag and make sure that we're bringing that back to the table. So next on our agenda, we have working group updates. And unfortunately, our chair for the DEI group is not here, but I think that we can share some of the work of that group. Lena or Dr. Spradley, would one of you prefer to go first to do an update?
No one can hear me.
Well, we changed the.
Oh, we
audio
changed
thing, yeah,
it?
so they
Oh,
should be
okay.
able to
Can
now.
you guys hear me? Kelly, can you hear me? We can see. Oh, that's great. Thank
We can hear
you.
you.
Much better.
Look at that.
We can kind of see you guys too.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, we have a member in the waiting room as well.
Oh, we do.
Okay, there we are. Look at us. And now I don't have a great update because my committee didn't meet. And I'm having trouble with participation, I guess. Yeah, Adrian, we can talk offline about it.
So just a reminder to everybody, if you have not signed up for a committee, or if you have signed up for a committee and you would like to expand and be in another group, the innovation group is convening with Lena. And although we have not had a large group participate yet, we feel really confident in 2024, we can do some great things with the innovation conversation. So Lena's update is there isn't an update, but she is super excited to get some new members and hopefully we will make that happen.
Yeah, it's also Tammy. We co-chair it.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
realize. My
Yeah.
apologies,
But
Tammy.
I don't think
Look,
Tammy,
Tammy's not on.
yeah, I don't think. And it's not just innovation, it's programs and innovation. So
Even more exciting. Dr. Spradley?
Absolutely. My connection's lost, so give me a second. Hilarious.
Well, I can do a quick DEI overview. So the group has been convening and fact finding. Would you agree that that's a good way to frame it, Derek?
Yeah, I would.
And really thinking about what the HOF has done to date, who we've been serving, what information is available about potentially underserved folks in our community, barriers, thinking about fair housing really deeply. And so we've been bringing ideas together in these last few meetings with the hope to identify our key focal points for 2024 moving forward. Derek, would you like to, speak to any points that maybe I didn't hit?
No, I think that's a pretty good synopsis. We were able to gather, a lot of the historical data
just in terms of, demographics and, the people we've served through all of our programs, through the HOF through the last, 5 years, 6 years that we've been operating. And I know, Evan and I, when we looked at that, I think in a lot of ways, we were like pleasantly surprised in some ways that, we're doing pretty well in a lot of those categories. But there's definitely room to grow. So yeah, I think the discussion so far has been like, how do we use that data to focus in on places where we aren't where we'd like to be, and really try to talk about that in 2024. So yeah, it's been a good discussion so far.
Absolutely. So again, committee membership is open. If anyone would like to join any of these conversations, again, just reach out to the URA or myself and we'll make sure that you get connected. Dr. Spradley, are you ready?
I am ready. Found the internet. I literally founded the internet. Myself and Al Gore. What's funny is CJ, our interpreter, is like my corny dad jokes are being interpreted, which is amazing. To have your corny dad jokes in 3D. So the outreach and marketing committee, which is, I'm chairing that, but Adrian is on it, Mark, Kelly is on it. We've come up with, we've had quite a bit of action happening over the last couple of months. And so we've identified a purpose statement. This committee exists to amplify the voice of the HOF and the many individuals these funds serve. To meet this purpose, we will work 1, to improve communications to the public, 2, to create feedback loops, and 3, support community members to advocate for themselves. We have right now, it's a sort of a growing list of goals, but some of those have already been achieved. So number 1, we want to request a housing opportunity fund graphic, which turns out is at the very beginning of these slides every time. Didn't notice that. So that it's done. That is fantastic work. We want, going into 2024, at least 10 HOF-sponsored posts on social media. We want to track the success of these posts. We've defined some hashtags, and we're still working out what that's going to look like specifically. So I don't want to share it yet, but we have defined a few. We've narrowed that list down. Goal 3 is to strengthen community feedback by hosting some focus groups. And that might also be inviting the community to share their voices here in our meetings and through social media. And then when we take our big survey, when the URA does the survey, we want to help with advertisement or social media to get members from the community, specifically to increase our number of homeowners, our number of renters, our number of landlords, and our number of developers who are taking that assessment. We'd like to set some small goals in those spaces as well. We want to deepen our rapport with community partners. And so when we hear from folks like you all that come in, we want to have the opportunity to try to tell their story via social media, but also see what other ways, because sometimes one of the value adds of the HOF is we're a convener, right? Like, so people will come in, and sometimes we are a connection away from making something powerful happen. And then, there's an idea that came up of creating yard signs that can be displayed on projects completed with HOF funds. So that folks are able to kind of get the name out there, and the branding is happening as well. So you'll start to see a lot of that happening over the course of next year. Like I said, we do have a logo. And I do want to tip my hat to Derek for the research and work that has been done within the URA. We were able to see a Hootsuite report of of what the URA has been putting out on social media currently. It gives some very clear information. Looks like LinkedIn and Facebook are sort of the 2 strongest performing. And so looking at how do we use that to engage, because there's really 2 types of audiences that are in Facebook. It's much more family home-based, and then LinkedIn is professional. And so how do we utilize those audiences and the stories that are happening through the URA, and that will be happening through HOF, to really get the word out and get people more engaged, so that they are able to hear what is happening. And so one of the things that I'm going to do in conclusion is I'm going to ask everybody to pull your phones out, go to LinkedIn, find the URA, just search for it. And become because right now I can see if you're doing it, because there's 5,000. If you don't follow it, and this
follow on Facebook.
yeah, so that's half the battle, right? Like, we want us to follow on Facebook and on LinkedIn, this group, so that we're, when we start to see things going out, we could be a part, we could help with the traction. The way the algorithms work is if I like something that the URA posted or that was off, it will then, like, if it gets enough likes, my network will start to see it. It'll rise up in my feed. So if you just, the Urban Redevelopment Authority, you could type that in on LinkedIn. That's what I'm asking you to follow right now, is on LinkedIn. And then you could, in your free time, also do that on Facebook as well. But just following, it's gonna be a part of that process, because going into next year, we may ask the group, hey, this is coming out, this is gonna be posted on this date. We're asking everybody to almost do a blitz and repost to kind of get traction on certain things. So that is where we're at with the outreach and community group. Again, we are open to new members. And so if you are thinking, you know, I've always wanted to learn Canva, well, you're not going to learn it here, but it would be a great place for you to start in the marketing space and really hearing the voices of the members of the community and having a clear feedback loop. So with that, I will turn it over.
Thanks, Derek. And as always, this committee is active and it can take more members. So if you have an interest in this piece of the work, we're happy to invite you to that conversation as well. So don't forget, you know, the committees are open, available. You can join at any time. So I'm going to deviate from the agenda here for a moment. So one of the things that we wanted to do today was set the stage for January. Unfortunately, we are having a meeting at the exact same time as PA's largest housing conference, which has put a damper on our participation today. And as active and wonderful and engaged as everyone is that's here today, we are missing half of our group. So what we wanted to do today was talk about the state of the URA to set the stage for January. I am thinking, and I would love to hear what everyone else is thinking, that it may make more sense to do this presentation in January to set the stage with a larger group. And just so everyone knows, we wanted to talk about the year in review, and we wanted to talk about 2024 forward and engage the group in a discussion about the January meeting. The January meeting needs to look a little different. The URA is actually closed in their physical space during our January meeting. So we have to be virtual for that meeting. There's also some changes for the city council meeting for January. So we had hoped we could repurpose our January meeting as fully virtual retreat planning. Doing the presentation of the state of what we did in 2023 at that meeting actually would be great, because we would hear everything that happened in 2023, and then we would really just launch into our retreat planning and putting, you know, items on our agenda for 2024. So if folks are open to, you know, dialoguing about potentially moving this piece to the January meeting and having it set the stage for our retreat conversation, we would love to talk about that. And if you have concerns about doing it that way, we'd love to hear that as well.
So sorry, this is a state of HOF or state of the URA?
State of the HOF.
Okay.
The URA staff will be part of that presentation, because obviously they're key in what the HOF has been able to accomplish. So yes, it's state of the HOF. I think we'd have to have a much longer meeting for the state of the URA.
I'm open to moving that to January. I think it's fine. It makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, Kelly, you're muted.
Oh, I was just gonna say, tell Paul we couldn't hear him. That's all.
Oh,
I just heard bass rumblings, but not actual words.
But I love that you're at the base. I said that I'm okay with that. I think it's fine for us to move forward in January. And not, I think it would be a good tie-in for the retreat.
Do folks have thoughts or concerns about just tabling that piece of today's agenda for the January agenda?
Have we gotten any news on filling our vacancies? We just have a few. Are there any updates on that?
I think the mayor's office is working to fill vacancies in Q1 of 2024.
Okay.
So we can discuss that further in the January meeting. Hopefully there'll be more of an update then.
Yeah, it'd just be great to have our full group, especially if we do a retreat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who fills the vacancies from the neighborhoods? Like, is that something that we could, okay.
Yeah, the mayor's office fills all of the spots.
Sorry, that was sort of low. We were sort of talking low. So discussion of who fills the vacancies, the mayor's office actually does appoint those spaces. HOF has made recommendations in the past. They have not pulled forward in the way that we had hoped. But that doesn't mean we couldn't still make recommendations.
And has the retreat been scheduled?
No,
Okay.
that's what we were hoping in January we could do, since that meeting has to be virtual. There really won't be public comment for that meeting. It would be really an agenda focused on 2024, including the retreat.
Okay.
We do have just in case.
So I'm trying not to leave a vacancy, but I have talked to the mayor's office about finding a replacement for me. And I said, it's important that I'm here or someone is here. And so I'm hoping that I'm replaced by January.
And we appreciate you, Dr. Bay. I know you've been trying to slide out of here for quite some time, but you held down the fort for the south of the city. Well, the southern portion of the city, I should say.
Well, I'm not hearing a strong opposition to moving that presentation forward. So for all of us to really think about, our January meeting is going to be virtual, which is not ideal, but it will be virtual and it'll allow us the time to really set the stage for 2024. Well, I'm going to go with that as a yes. If anybody has concerns or questions about January, again, you can reach out to the URA, myself, Dr. Spradley, and we will be happy to engage that conversation. So that means we're going to take G off the agenda for today, and we're just going to go to H, which is announcements. The announcements include that our next meeting is January the 4th at 2 p.m. Again, we are going to be virtual for that meeting. So that is sort of the number one announcement. And then we have some additional ones from our partners here at the URA.
Hi, it's Kiana Wassler. We just wanted to make sure the advisory board, as well as the public, is aware that the URA offices are closed from Monday, December 25th, 2023 through Monday, January 1st, 2024. Additionally, our physical office at 412 Boulevard of the Allies is closed from that following week, from Tuesday, January 2nd through Friday, January 5th. We will be working that week, just the physical office for the URA will be closed. So just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that and the public's aware. Additionally, just wanted to make the announcement that the 2024 allocation plan received final city council approval this week, as approved by the HOF advisory board.
I was looking for everybody to be doing the wave. No takers. Okay.
All right. I killed the wave.
So we know everyone's busy. We appreciate all of the participation in the HOF. We are always, excited to be together, excited to be having this conversation. I think January will be a wonderful opportunity for us to really think about 2024 get ourselves, ready to go for all the great things we're gonna do.
And Mark, if you wouldn't mind muting your computer, please. Thank you so much. It was an accident. It was a 2023 accident. It's okay.
Well, thank you to you all. We hope you have a happy, safe set of holidays.
I did have a question for Kiana or URA staff. Is there any word on the bond issue for affordable housing projects that the city and the URA are working on?
Sure, it's Kiana. I can give a quick update on that. We are still in a due diligence process with the city on the bond issuance with the goal of closing in 2023. So hopefully when we gather again in January, it will be with a secured bond issuance, but we will have more details for you at that meeting.
If we don't have any additional announcements and we do not have any public comments, do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Future.
Well, again, thank you, everyone. Have a safe and healthy end of 2023. And we're really looking forward to all of the things we're going to do in 2024.